What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Elevation here with another episode of the JBP Elevated, where we speak on the Joe Budden podcast and all of his co-hosts on and outside the pod. Today's episode is going to be a little different, and it's going to be something that I might do going forward. I always want to change the content up on this page, and instead of changing the genre, I could just make different types of videos pertaining to the same topics. I finally got my Patreon again, but I went back to the $25 tier because there's just way too much information that I'm missing out on because I'm not trying to do my due diligence, and that's crazy. And besides that, there's a whole catalog of 700 plus episodes of the JBP where things are still culminating from prior episodes. So it's good to divulge, or not divulge, but it's good to dig deep and get all of this back. But anyway, hindsight's 2020. But that being said, I think Ma was playing chess while Rory and Joe were playing checkers. Because Joe in his mind thought he was playing chess. But we gloss over this incident so much because the theft accusations came out from Rory and Ma's end, and then everybody just started focusing on the accounting and the books, and everybody just started focusing on if Joe was doing bad business. And because we were so invested in that iteration of the JBP, everybody was focusing on what those three niggas was talking about. But Ma, what you did not slip past me, nigga. How come nobody, not a single person, and this kind of reflects and speaks on Joe's character, which is foul for Joe to think about. So if you're watching this video, you need to think on this too. But how come not a single soul questioned why Ma hopped and jumped ship so quickly and joined Rory and him being suspended, quote unquote? How come nobody questions this? I'm going to question it because I actually know what happened or the reason behind it. But I have to throw my disclaimer. Instead of doing the little intro that the Stop and JBP do, this is my disclaimer right here. Everything that I'm saying is speculatory. I am Mr. Speculation Man. I don't have any sources from any camps, any sides in this story. It's just conjecture. This is water cooler talk. I don't know what the fuck it is I'm talking about. But let's go back 3, maybe 4 years at this point. Rory and Joe were constantly bickering on the show, speaking about fighting each other in boxing, right? Joe used to talk to Ma about what he was going to do to Rory, not in a physical sense, as far as business is concerned. Joe told Ma that he was going to suspend Rory, take a couple days off, because your shit is quote unquote fucked up. Rory got suspended, was trying to call Joe, couldn't get through to him. What is the big discrepancy that Ma had with Joe whenever he came back for those 2 or 3 episodes, or maybe one episode that they came back? What did Ma say his discrepancy was? He was mad that Joe, in essence, laughed in his face when it came to the business talks. Saying, what did he say? It's none of your business. What do you mean the business is none of my business? That always stuck with me. And everybody thinks that Maul is too cool for school and that he was concerned about those moralities that he was speaking on, which is true. I'm not trying to discredit that. But when people emphasize things that they say, you gotta take an emphasize or emphasization. Is that a word? I don't know. Hell, I don't know. You know, I just be spewing out words. When people emphasize what it is that they're saying, you got to take it like a subliminal diss in a song. The business is none of my business. Rory got suspended. Ma jumped ship, joined Rory in his suspension. They leave the pod. Less than a month later, they have their own pod. I would have been cool with that. And during the time that it happened, we were all focused on, yes, they are back on their feet. They didn't just fall off. But then Rory, and y'all know how I feel about Freudian slips, and I can't recall the episode title off the top of my head, but some of y'all can go fact check this, and eventually I'll get the clip and put it on my page so y'all will see it. Rory said, well, you're the boss, to Mal. And it wasn't in a joking manner, even though he said it in a joking tone. You're the boss. I don't know why it took me so long to come up with this. Mal was playing chess. Mal knew that if he showed support to Rory, he could get Rory to latch on to this new business venture. I can't stand on my own, but Joe is telling me the business is not a part of my business, even though I help this business grow exponentially. So I'm not included in the business. We're profit sharers, and I think that the accounting is funny. I can't see the accounting. Parks. I can't see the accountant. Notice how Mal hasn't said a word to Parks or anybody else in this beef. I can't check the accounting. Joe told me to my face, like a man, and apparently the friend that he thought I was, he told me to my face that the business is not a part of my business. I know these two niggas have beef. I know I can't stand on my own in this field. I know I don't want to be a part of the JBP anymore. But before I continue, we can also go do some fact checking when it comes to the Patreon drop. And when I'm saying Patreon drop, we all know what I'm speaking on. When Joe told them niggas, because they found out in real time when we found out. Well, clearly they recorded it, but they found out when they were recording that Joe had signed the Patreon deal, that Joe had done the Cash App deal. They were finding this shit out in real time. I recall the faces they made. To me, whenever Joe did that bullshit, Mal was already focusing on his way out. He played his cards right, and because he's loyal at the time and was seen as such, I'm not gonna do anything to fuck up the ship. We're still getting paid somewhat, even though I know I'm not receiving what my actual compensation should be. I'm gonna figure my way out. And then at that time, because Joe and Rory were already beefing prior to that, but once that announcement was made, that pretty much was the icing on top for Rory. And then it was just a matter of time before the meltdown happened, because Mal is 10 years Rory's senior. He knows what young niggas go through whenever they're going through shit. So he already know Rory gonna pop his top. Once again, everything I'm saying is speculation. Everything I'm saying is speculation. Allegedly, Rory's finna pop his top in due time. Joe, because I lived with this nigga and I actually was this nigga's best friend, I know his tendencies. But because I'm sick of the negative tendencies, this is why I'm already writing up my departure. Everybody knows who my brother is and the connections I have with my brother. I don't believe in myself. This is me speaking as Mal. I don't believe in myself fully enough, but I do believe in me and Rory. If Joe thinks this is his podcast and he thinks that the business isn't a part of our business, or we don't deserve to know what's going on in the workings of the business, what happens if I take his business away? So he thought. But what happens if I take his business away? We're 2/3 of the JBP. Yes, it's your name. Yes, it's your likeness. Yes, we got big as a result of you. But we put in just as much work as you do. You may put in more finances than us, but this podcast is elevated exponentially as a direct result of Joe Budden, Rory Farrell, and me, Jamil Clay, or whatever his name is. I am sick of this shit. So he was building up, or he was watching everything fall into place, and it fell into place perfectly when Joe told him that he was finna suspend Rory. Oh. It's easy when you are already seen as a loyal nigga to take the loyal card whenever you make your departure. And now it shows Rory that I have his back and we're in this together. So going forward, whenever I make a business decision, he's gonna see it as the best decision for both of us. And I'm very curious to who runs the financials at the new Rory and Mal. I'm very curious to see the splits and the contracts. I want to see it. It's not going to happen. They're not going to speak on it. They're going to act like a channel such as myself doesn't exist. But I would love to see the contractual obligations Rory has to Mal. And notice how I didn't say Mal has to Rory. Mal was setting this shit up the entire time. And it would have worked to perfection to the way he wanted if Joe wasn't quick to find Ish and Ice. Listen to what I'm saying. Whenever I get into these deep breakdowns and shit, and damn, I wish I didn't delete my back catalog, but whenever I get into these deep breakdowns and shit, when it comes to how people operate based off of the emotions attached to it, how many times have I been wrong? And I guess the only way we'll be able to refute anything that I'm saying is if Roy and Mal come out and say anything pertaining to this video, which won't happen, but this is something to think about. Mal was playing chess. I am the business. Rory is the business. We're going to sabotage your business. And as a result of that, I'm going to be able to get my business off the ground. And when it comes to the legalities, I always speak about the legalities in this particular situation. And I find it very curious why they haven't gone to the court systems. Joe doesn't want to go to the court system because he actually was cooking the books. He actually was cooking the books. But Mal isn't trying to go to the courts because then I lose my ownership. If I actually get what it is that Joe wants or that we want, then none of this shit would have fallen apart. And I wouldn't have this venture that I'm doing and in control of. And because I didn't initially treat Rory the way Joe treated Rory, Rory's not going to look at me none the wiser whenever I start to get my boss shit on. Because we're entering this deal with him knowing I'm the boss. And Rory already knew he was the boss initially when it happened. But Rory, being the young mind that he is or was at the time this all happened, I don't know what my next venture is. I do know that I have worked corporations in corporate field and corporate industries, and I don't want to go be the suit and tie nigga anymore. I don't want to have to go pitch a product. We have a name and we have equity in the fan base that we have built already. So if we can continue to stay in this field and somewhat have a view as to what it is that we could do with the money on our own, we don't have to be told what we're doing, I'm okay with that. And if Mal is showing this nigga the splits, even if it is 70-30 or 60-40 or 65-35 or whatever split they decided to go in, I'm okay with it because I actually get to see the paperwork. But Mal is smart for accusing Joe of being a thief because he could just sidestep why he so quickly left this best friend of 15 plus years to go join the white boy. But if you stuck it out this long, I appreciate y'all, man. I just wanted to get this off my chest. I'm speculating, of course. This is all conjecture. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Hey, man, y'all been showing out on my community posts. Y'all been showing out on my videos. I'm going to give it my all this time. At least if I fail this time, I can say it's off my own volition. Shout out to TNT for correcting me. Y'all know how many times I said fruition, volition. But make sure y'all like, comment, share, subscribe. Let's run the numbers up, man. Let's get back to it.